Hello and welcome to Good Evening Britain, a Force for Good's weekly show coming to you live from our studios here in the heart of the great British city of Glasgow with me, your host, Alistair McConnachie, and we're broadcasting across all our digital platforms throughout the United Kingdom and around the world. We're bringing you quality pro-UK comment and analysis every Wednesday from 7 until 8, broadcasting on YouTube, on Facebook, on our Twitter and also on our TikTok. What's happening in the United Kingdom and indeed around the world? What's on your mind this evening, as we always ask, because we're going to be giving you the benefit of what's on our mind this evening as we face another new campaign that Nicola Sturgeon has launched, another campaign for independence, and she launched that at the weekend there. And of course she launches one as often as some of us change our socks, but let's just talk about this particular one, what she believes that she can do. Well, she doesn't actually believe it, but what she pretends to tell the people that blithely follow her is that they're going to have a referendum next year. Now, if you believe that, I've got a bridge somewhere that I can sell you, quite frankly, because that's not going to happen, even if it were legally possible for her to do so, which, of course, it's not legally possible. Hans is watching from Faslane on TikTok, and Hibis Shop is watching from Badminton. That's wonderful. And to Ziggs the Wolf says, good evening, fellow Brits, oi oi. And Alan, good evening all. And nice to see Adam in the house. And Alan's from the great British city of Dundee. And Catherine, thank you for your help, Catherine. You were out with us at our street stall, which we held on the 14th of May. And of course we weren't broadcasting last week, and the reason we weren't broadcasting last week was we had to take the week off in order to produce our latest edition of Union Heart, which is our magazine which is free to Union supporters. And this particular magazine is a 12-pager, and it is a special Platinum Jubilee edition with 10 pages dedicated to talking about Scotland and the monarchy from a very educational standpoint. I'll talk about that a little bit more, but I'm very happy to say it went to the printers last night, and so it will be with us for our programme next week on the 1st of June. And that's really something to look forward to. And if you're a Union supporter and if you've requested our magazines, you'll be getting one automatically. You don't need to contact us. However, if you're a Union supporter, that is a monthly donor, and you've not received any magazines, please do contact us and we'll happily send them to you for free. Frankie says Nicola Sturgeon lives in her fantasy world. And Catherine says it was a great day when she was out with us. We've got a picture there of our flags flying. Let's just put the picture up of our Jubilee street stall, as we call it. There we are. That's one of the pictures. That was from the that was our April stall, and see a big Jubilee flag there, the Queen's Jubilee, and our a forceforgood.uk flag. The stall was very, very busy that day, and we were out again on May, and there's a picture there at the very bottom which we can put up as well, which was the day that Catherine was out. And what's that saying? A Force for Good Jubilee street stall. Sign up at aforceforgood.uk to stay updated on all our events. So if you do that, please do sign up to us. We've got a sign up address there as well, which we'll put if you want to sign up, and we'll contact you and ask you if you want to come out with us. You'll be kept in touch when we are heading out. So what I was talking about there with Nicola Sturgeon is she's wanting to have this thing in next year, and she's getting some people who unfortunately don't really know any better. She's getting them excited that, oh, we're going to have a referendum next year. Well, it's not possible. What she, however, is wanting to do is to make a big issue of it so that she'll get inevitably turned down by the British government, and then she'll take it to court, and then she'll get turned down in court, and this will all be happening towards the end of next year, which is to say the end of 2023, which is setting it up for her big event in 2024, where she's going to use the British general election, which will be held sometime that year. She's going to use that as the evidence that, hey, we tried, but we've been kept down by the undemocratic system of Westminster, blah, 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 blah. And so she's going to use 2023 as the build-up to the British general election in 2024. And so it all depends really how she does then. And not only does it depend how she does, and let's hope she does very badly, but if she were to do well, then it would depend who actually got elected at the British level, and whether or not they would be kind to her, and whether or not they would give her another referendum or not. And that would depend, of course, whether it was a Tory government, whether it was a Labour Lib Dem coalition, or whether it was a Labour SNP coalition, and in which case the SNP would only go into coalition with Labour if they were to be promised a referendum. So all of this, it's not going away, unfortunately. It's always just going to be with us. The way that Scotland is now, we've been inveigled into a political position, a political set of circumstances where the Scottish Nationalists have always got the upper hand. Thank you, Tony Blair, by the way, for not having the foresight to see what all of us saw, which was that was exactly what was going to happen. If you gave them if you built your own gallows, then you were going to get hung eventually by it. So can Labour rescue us here in Scotland from continued SNP domination? Who knows? Who knows? But one thing is certain, is that Sturgeon is very content to continue to ask repeatedly for referendums, because she can actually have the best of both worlds. She can continue to posture with her constant political grievance, and she can, while she's doing that, she can continue to enjoy the economic security of the United Kingdom. And that was said by Tom Harris, who wrote an article last year in the Daily Mail, which I happened to find again today. And he was pointing out the unreasonableness of imagining that she could go ahead and do such a thing, and the foolishness of imagining that she should throw away the greatest insurance scheme known to Scotland, which is also known as the Great British Taxpayer. The idea that she would throw away the millions and millions of people who contribute to the British purse and rely just on a much smaller number of people to pay the taxes and to pay the public services is just foolish, absolutely foolish. As he said, this is Tom Harris writing, the Treasury spent an average of $6,700 per household in the UK to help families through COVID. That works out at nearly $16 billion for Scotland alone. Thanks to a UK government which, according to the First Minister, is conspiring to make Scotland poorer. Scottish workers have kept their jobs, businesses have been able to survive. Well, some businesses have been able to survive. The whole lockdown, of course, devastated the whole of the United Kingdom. And every family in Scotland has benefited to one extent or another from the help offered to us by our fellow UK citizens. Well, that can't be denied. Absolutely. So Sturgeon will continue to posture, and she'll continue to try to stir up things with the grand plan being to try to win in Scotland, win overwhelmingly in Scotland in the British general election in 2024. And then when we find out what's happened there, then we'll know how to proceed. But as we say, this isn't going away any time soon, unfortunately. Wouldn't it just be great? So from our perspective, what we do, knowing that this is a long-term fight, not only do we comment on the political day-to-day activity, but our real core work is in attempting to make people, help people, encourage people to love our United Kingdom. That's what we're doing. It's a kind of cultural, educational battle that we're involved in, and that's a long-term thing. And as we always say, the way to keep the Union together is to do more together and to appreciate what we've got. So it's about promoting the UK as a force for good, which is our name. It's about understanding our history and all of our history from all parts, and to understand the extent to which it's been reconciled, conflict has been reconciled in the present dispensation. And it's about taking pride in our ancestors from all four corners of the United Kingdom and what they've helped to create. So while we understand that the actual political shenanigans are going to go on, what we attempt in our way to do is to build up the heartstrings, to build up the heart, to build up the love of the United Kingdom. And indeed, that's what our magazine, our 12-page magazine on the Platinum Jubilee, is attempting to do as well. Because what we've done there, and I'll just go through it page by page, and I can't show it to you yet because I've only got the draft here. But on page 2, we talk about the constitutional role of the monarch as head of state and as a distinct national icon, and how those are the two main roles, and what those roles involve and what those roles contribute. And then on page 3, we have an amazing family tree that starts at Robert the Bruce and finishes at Prince William, to show the extent to which Prince William and Charles and the Queen are direct descendants, as we like to say, Bruce to Elizabeth, our great British monarchy. And that family tree is on one page of page 3. So that's a great thing that we've got there, and fingers crossed that's going to work out well when the printer's finished with it. And then on page 4, we look at the people's sovereignty, how the Queen is a symbol of the people's democratic sovereignty. By vesting sovereignty in a person, you do not deprive the people of it. You simply provide a tangible focus for the democratic sovereignty of the people. So that answers the main objection which a lot of people have, that somehow it's depriving the people, the Queen is depriving the people of their sovereignty. Quite the opposite. She's simply a symbol of that democratic sovereignty. And we also look at what democratic sovereignty is and how it differs from legal sovereignty, and how it all contributes to national sovereignty. So that page is looking at the concept of the three forms of sovereignty: democratic, legal and national. And then a great page is page 5, where we're talking about the union of the crowns. Of course, when the Scotsman, James VI, became James VI of Great Britain, and he invented that Union Jack flag. And then we're looking at a couple of things that the Scottish nationalists will always complain about. One is the royal style, Queen Elizabeth II. And we're pointing out that that is the correct modern style for the Queen, because she is the second Elizabeth in the territory which became the United Kingdom, even though Scotland itself never had an Elizabeth I, because Elizabeth I was simply an English queen prior to the union of the crowns. And we also say something quite controversial here, that Prince William will be William VI, using that logic. He won't be William V. And then we look at the controversial verse that some nationalists pretend exists within the British national anthem about the Jacobites, and we point out that it doesn't exist, that that's simply an urban myth. And we operate from primary documents to make those points, one of which we've got a nice photograph of. And then we've got 2 pages, pages 8 and 9, where we deal with all the objections, all the Republican objections, and we knock them out the park. And then on page 10, policies to help celebrate the monarchy. And in that sense, we have got a lot there to suggest. So a great thing that you will not read anywhere else, and has not been published in the history of the world prior to right now. Because believe me when I say, we've got a very big library here on books on the monarchy and so on, which we used to create this, but none of the books or magazines that we have here in the office have brought this together in such a way, in such a political way and such an educational way for Scotland. So great stuff, it really is. And another thing which we've got for the first time is in the inside back page, we've got QR codes. So we have a QR code there. This is advertising our hoodies and our t-shirts, but that's actually a QR code that you'll be able to scan and you'll be able to sign up. You might even be able to do it just now. If I hold that up to the screen, you'll be able to hold your mobile over that and it should take you to the sign up facility. And then we've also got the same for our union supporters. So what that means is when we're out on our street stalls, we'll simply be able to go to somebody who goes, oh, where can I sign up? We just open up one of the copies of the magazine and we say, just hold your phone over that, mate, and you'll be taken to the page. And that's just so much simpler. So cutting edge of technology as well, we are absolutely at the forefront of that. So that magazine is being published in sufficient bulk that we'll be able to give it away free at our street stalls. It will be given away free to people who are already monthly donors, and it will be £3.50 for anybody who wants to buy a copy that can't get a free copy at one of our street stalls. So that's some heavy work that we were doing in the past week. I can assure you it really was, and valuable work. And as I say, this is all like helping us understand and appreciate our distinct and very unique and very colourful and very different political structure. And it's a rebuttal, a riposte, a rebuff to all these people who write in that national newspaper, oh, the Queen's not democratic. We should have a democratic head of state. Go away and read this magazine and come back to us and you will be singing a different tune. I can assure you. You see, there's a difference. We've got a political system that involves lots of different theories. Okay, so we've got a hereditary head of state who's obviously not democratically elected, and we've got a democratic parliament. But the question is, do they work together? And the answer is yes, they work together very well. So that's all that matters. You don't need to have you don't want to say what we need to do is to have a hereditary system for everything, or a one person, one vote system for everything. How about a combination of what works well? That's what we've got in the United Kingdom, and we're quite unique. I mean, there's other countries that have got monarchies and so on, but we're the most advanced in that, and we're the best known worldwide on that. Somebody asks, what's this stuff about Nicola Sturgeon chucking an iron through a window at Balmoral Hotel? Well, I do notice that has been trending. And somebody even said to me today that yesterday they had heard people talking about it on the train. Okay, so it's one of these stories that certainly got a lot of traction on Twitter, but is it true? I have absolutely no idea, and I would not want to speculate upon it. Same person says that Sturgeon hates Scots for voting to stay in the UK, and she's exacting revenge through a series of mistakes. That's an interesting point. I know that she and a lot of her MSPs and councillors and so on, I don't know if they hate their fellow Scots, but they have no regard. They have no regard for the people who want to stay in the UK. You know, if they could, and you know, if they would be happy to win by one vote and cut the country down the middle in order to get their separation. You know, if they had regard for us Scots, they would be saying, well, we support independence, but we wouldn't want independence unless the whole country was for it, or at least 80% of the country was for it, or an overwhelming number of the people of the country were for it. That would have regard to their fellow Scots. But no, they'd be quite happy to win a referendum on a low turnout by one vote, and then they'd say, that's it, we're gonna destroy the United Kingdom as a result. Well, what sort of mentality is that? That shows they have no regard for the majority of people in Scotland at the moment, who are very happy to be British. Think about that. Just think about the extent to which you would have to not care about your fellow Scots to have that attitude. A couple of things I want to talk about at the moment. Somebody asked about the flag. It's the 40th anniversary of the Falklands War, and 14th of June was the surrender of the Argentinians in the Falklands. So during April and May, we've been flying this flag in the background, and I want to thank the chap that sent us that. That's the flag of the Falklands, and it's a sheep standing on a rocky outcrop looking out at the sea beside a ship which is called Desire. And the Desire was the vessel from which the Captain John Davis first sighted the Falkland Islands in 1592. And the motto there is desire the right, which is as in desire that which is right. And so that will be flying. When June comes along, we'll replace that actually with a really nice Platinum Jubilee flag, which we've got, but it's to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the Falklands that we've got that flag flying there in the background. Somebody's also asking there when we're next going to be out. Well, we are going to be out very shortly again, and we're going to have our magazine, our Platinum Jubilee magazine, which will be given away free. So we're going to be out a lot of weekends actually over this summer. And so if you'd like to be with us at our street stall, and we've got one or two other pieces of activism planned as well. If you'd like to be kept in the loop, then please do send us your details at contact@aforceforgood.uk or sign up. Good stuff. Good stuff. Now, just before I go to this day in British history, this book has come into our office. Check this out. The Union. There we go, trying to get at the light. What this is a comic book. A comic book. These were comics that I think they came out. It's like a 5-issue set, which came out a couple of years ago, and they've been bound into one volume now. And that's Snakes, who represents Ireland. That's Captain Britain. That's Britannia. That's Kelpie, who represents Scotland. And that's the Choir, who represents Wales. And there's also a chap in here called Bulldog, who represents England. It says the Britannia Project along the bottom, which I really like. For Queen and Country, the Union, the Britannia Project. Isn't that fantastic? The grand unveiling of the Union. That's the name that they give to the superhero team. And this would make a great film, wouldn't it? A team of superheroes gathered from across the United Kingdom, including Union Jack, Snakes, Kelpie, Choir, and their fearless leader, Britannia. When the alien god Null and his dragons attack Earth, blah blah blah, the heroes of the Union must battle for their lives and one another. Thrust onto the global stage, will the members of the Union prove themselves or crumble? Brilliant. Somebody's saying, where can you get it? Well, you'll just be able to get it from, the usual online sources. The Union, the Britannia Project, and it's a Marvel Comics. So I'd like to think that they could actually do, a Marvel movie called The Union, and release it in time for, release it appropriately at a particular time when it would get support for the Union. Because remember when Mel Gibson released Braveheart, I don't know if he did that intentionally or not, but of course that just totally helped the Scottish Nationalists at the time of the 1997 referendum. Totally helped them in a big way, and it still helps them today. So we need that sort of thing on our side. So that was a wee positive cultural development that I thought needed to be flagged up on this day in British history. Now, what happened on this day? Well, on this day, you'll have heard the hymn, I vow to thee, my country, all earthly things above. That was written by a chap called Cecil Spring Rice, but the person who put it to music, the person who really turned that poem into an incredible piece of music, was a chap called Gustaf Holtz. And he died on this day, on the 25th of May, 1934. And he was a composer and a musical arranger and a teacher of music. And that's his statue there that we've put up on screen in Cheltenham. And he's best known for his orchestral suite called The Planets, which is one of these long pieces of music that is very symbolic, various sections of it representing different planets. And he was born in Cheltenham, as I say, that's his statue in Cheltenham. And his foreign-sounding name, Gustaf Holtz, is explained by the fact that his paternal great-grandfather immigrated from Latvia in 1802. And it was in 1921 that he set I vow to thee, my country, to the music of one of the sections of his orchestral suite called The Planets. So he took the music out of that and just added it, as it were. And his daughter said that at the time he was so overworked, he was relieved to discover that the words he had been given fitted the tune that he had already written for his orchestral suite. So he died on this day, and he's the man to whom we can thank for the great piece of music that's the hymn, I Vow to Thee, My Country. He wrote the music for it. A very patriotic act. I guess he didn't know how patriotic it would be in the years to come. Okay. And the second fellow, again, who passed away on this day in 1971, well, he didn't so much pass away as got seriously injured in a bomb blast, was a British soldier called Michael Willetts of the Parachute Regiment, who was awarded the George Cross for essentially an act of self-sacrifice, because he had been guarding a police station in Belfast when a bomb was thrown through the window, and this was back in 1971, on this day in 1971, and the police station had lots of people in it, and so without regard to his own safety, he put himself between the bomb and those in the station. And his citation reads that he held the door open while all passed safely through, and then stood in the doorway shielding those from those who were taking cover. And in the next moment the bomb exploded and he was mortally wounded. And so he essentially used his body as a screen to shelter the other people who were there in the immediate proximity of this bomb. And he was given the George Cross for that. The George Cross is the military gallantry medal that you get if you're not actually facing the physical enemy. The highest award bestowed for gallantry not in the physical presence of the enemy is the George Cross. And he's probably really only remembered as a consequence of a song which was written by somebody called Harvey Andrews called Soldier, which is a very descriptive and emotional commemoration of his sacrifice. So two British heroes there today in our thoughts. And again, we always look at these people as well, because it gives us a sense of the past, so that we understand where we are today and where we can go forward as well. We try to bring in the full spectrum of Britishness. It's what I was talking about earlier, about the importance of developing it as educating people around the concepts that we believe in. Rita says, total respect to you, Alistair, and anyone helping, standing in the middle of Glasgow with your Union Jacks. Hopefully I can help. Well, we get a lot of support when we're out there. People always say things like, we need to see more of this, or where have you been, or well done, and all that kind of stuff. We got a lot of that. So we've also got a very experienced table team, so you know you're in good hands if you come along. We know how to deal with the public very well, and even if you don't want to actually be, as it were, behind the table, as long as you're just standing with us, that gives us a sense of solidarity. You're showing solidarity with us, and it's good to know that we've got people at the table, around the table, who are on our side. So I always say to people, if you want to come along to our street stall, it's not a matter of having to talk to the public if you don't want to. It's just a matter of standing with us. And while we're always out for several hours, You can come along for half an hour or an hour or as long as you want. And it's also very safe. So please do consider it. We're always looking for folk to stand with us and new people as well. And it might be something that you'd want to try, or maybe you just want to meet the team, in which case please do come along. And if you want to find out more about it, then do contact us at aforceforgood.uk, and please do again sign up, and we'll put the wee sign up scrolling banner along the bottom there so that you can see it. Now, there's something that I want to share with you, because we wrote a really good article. Yes, it's called Scot Nats and Optical Illusions. And this is our article which we put out. Now, if you're on TikTok, unfortunately, you won't see it. You'll only see it if you're on YouTube. But we counted the Scottish Nationalist March that was out on the same day as our street stall. And we were actually just round the corner from them. They finished in George Square, and we were just round the corner from them. They didn't know we were there, but we wanted to get out on the same day as them, and we also filmed them, and we counted them very precisely at 773 people, and not the 5,000 which they lied about. They're still lying like that. But we are getting our message out as well. And what was always amusing is that picture there you can see is what they looked like as they passed our cameraman. But look at the picture that was used by the Daily Mail, actually, as it happens. It looks like there's absolutely thousands of them. And how does that happen? And so we wrote this article, Scottish Nationalists and Optical Illusions, and it's a really important piece of work, folks. And what we do is we demonstrate that if you have a camera, and it's called a long lens camera, a long focal length camera, then you can stand away from the march, 100 yards, 150 yards away, and your lens, because it's got a long focal length, will zoom in to the tiny wee bit in the distance where you see the marchers coming down the hill, and it will compress the image, and it will make it look like there's thousands. But see that image there that's on the screen at the moment? That looks like it's maybe in 10 or 15 yards. That's at least 150 yards of people compressed. And how do we know that? We know that because in this article, and we'll put the link up, you'll find the link in the comments. We know this because we can look at the actual street furniture and know what those distances are in real life. So let's scroll down, because it's all in our thing there. That's the hill they were coming down, okay? Now, you see that's a taxi right there in the middle of the frame, in the middle of the road. Now, that's the front of the march would actually be even below that taxi. Okay, we actually visited this street just a couple of days ago when we were in town to try to figure out where the photographer was standing, but he was standing at least, we believe, 200 yards away from the brow of the hill to take that photograph. There you see, you might not be able to see it clearly, but the distance there between that red no entry sign and that black bin is at least 50 yards in real life, at least 50 yards. I pasted out the distance between the red pillar box and that black bin is actually 35 yards. Okay, but look at that picture. It looks as if they're right beside each other. So what basically they do there is there's a sparsely populated march, but by taking a photograph with a long focal length lens, you can make it look, you compress the march, and you get this absolute shock of colour that makes it look like an army of thousands coming down the hill, when in fact that's probably only maybe 200 people at the most, spread over at least 150 yards, if not 200 yards. So you get an optical illusion. And they're coming down the hill at a very steep point of the hill as well. And so the photographer has chosen his point well, because of the slope. It looks like the flags are all piled on top of each other. So please spread that article around, folks. It's an important one. It's an important one because it shows how they can get away with all of that nonsense, and make it look like reality is something different than from what it actually is. I know we've got one or two people watching who are skilled photographers, and maybe they should do the same with our street stall. I don't know if they could stand like 200 yards away, take a photograph of us with a long focal length lens and make it look like there's 100 of us. We wouldn't do that though, you know. We that's just me being silly. We wouldn't do that, that's for sure. We'll leave that sort of craziness to others. PBC says the flags make it look more as well. Yes, they do. Talking about flags, we were pleased to see all the Union Jack flags in Regent Street, and we were very happy that the national newspaper was very upset to see all the Union Jack flags as well. And you can't get enough Union Jack flags, as we always say. And so if you'd like to get your own Union Jack flag, you can get our bespoke one that we had specially made. This has got a hole, an open hem that you can put your flagpole into, and also a tie, so you can get that also at our shop, folks. It's a 3x2 flag. Some people buy two in order that they can keep one in the car, so that they can pull it out if they need to keep the British end up whenever that arises. So you can get yours at the shop. Very good value for money, less than a £5. Great stuff. Okay, folks, we have come to the end of the show. Thank you for all the great comments that came in. Sorry I didn't get a chance to read all of them out, but we'll be back next Wednesday. We'll have our new magazine to show you, and we'll also be starting our summer time 28-day crowdfunder, and we look forward to that because we've got a lot going on this June. So this is my big appeal to people to if they want to join us, make sure we know about you. Okay, folks, great stuff. It just remains for me to say God bless the United Kingdom and God save the Queen. See you next week.